There's a new lightweight adventure trailer available from Cruiser RV. Ford has released the details for 2022 Super Duty trucks. Diesel motorhomes may have to get smog tests to enter California. And Starlink is one step closer to mobile internet reality. It's time for the latest in RV and camping news. I'm Jason Epperson, this is RV Miles, and here we talk about the latest in RV and camping news that you need to know about. We begin with campgroundviews.com, a website that I've come to really appreciate for a while now that helps you see a campsite before you actually book it. With over 3,000 video tours, 40,000 photos, and 400 360-degree video tours. It's those immersive 360 tours that are really the wave of the future for campground booking. And now campgroundviews.com is taking the next step by allowing you to actually see if a site is available and book it right from within the video. And if you're imagining that only a few campgrounds will use this technology, the site is integrating with recreation.gov's data to offer you access to over 2,000 federal campgrounds. They're working on partnering with other campground reservation systems too. The technology's finished, but the company is launching an Indiegogo campaign to implement it. We'll link to it in the description. Cruiser RV, a division of Heartland, has just begun production on a new adventure-style trailer called the Hitch. Built to handle rough terrain, the Hitch features an all-aluminum superstructure, Azdel composite walls, and marine-grade floors. Hitch will have 4 floor plans in the 18 to 22-foot range, all under 4,000 pounds. It comes with 15-inch off-road tires with a torsion axle and a small solar package with inverter. In truck news, Ford has announced the new 2022 Super Duty trucks set to be available in a few months. Not much new. The exterior is identical, as are the powertrains, but the interior gets a new available 12-inch screen and an update to Ford's new Sync 4 infotainment system. Apple CarPlay will no longer require a cable, and Android Auto will be fully supported. This episode is sponsored by the Togo RV app. If you're looking for in-route navigation on your phone that takes into account the length and height of your RV, look no further than the Togo RV app, which also includes checklists, maintenance reminders, and recall alerts for your specific RV and more. The app is free, but a $39 per year Togo RV Plus membership gives you full access to the navigation features, plus my favorite trip planning software, Road Trippers Plus. You can get $10 off with the code RVMiles10X. Just download the app and sign up for Togo RV Plus with the code RVMiles10X. If you still believe the current RV and camping craze is entirely pandemic driven, here's an interesting fact. KOA, North America's largest campground chain, had an increase in reservation revenue by over 10% in the first 2 months of 2020, before COVID hit the continent in earnest, according to an article in RV Business. Then, during the period from March 16th to May 17th last year, the bottom fell out, and the company's revenue dropped 43%. While a lot of campgrounds were struggling to refund reservations, KOA Corporate stepped up and covered 100% of reservation deposits and cancellation fees for 522 franchisees. That's over $3 million. By September 7th, KOA had made that back and then some, setting new reservation records in June, July, August, September, and October. The momentum gained in 2020 has carried over to the first 2 months of 2022. Consumer traffic on KOA.com was up 25.6% during January and February, and there's a nearly 60% increase in camping reservations over last year. I'll link to the full article from RV Business in the description. The California Air Resources Board, or CARB, has announced it's developing a new regulation that would require diesel vehicles over 14,000 pounds operating in California, even if the vehicle's registered out of state, to have proof of properly functioning emissions control systems. Essentially, if you want to drive a big motorhome into California, you might have to have a smog check before or upon arrival. That could be anything from a check engine light check to a full smog test. State and national campground associations are lobbying for the exclusion of private motorhomes from the law, as is the RV Industry Association. If passed, the law would likely go into effect in 2023. Finally, few clues about the possibility of using SpaceX's Starlink in an RV have been available since beta testing launched for folks living in the upper latitudes of North America. Most of us travelers have assumed that the high-speed, low-orbit internet service will eventually be able to be mounted on our mobile recreators, but Starlink has locked the beta testing phase to specific addresses. Well, new information came out last Friday when SpaceX filed with the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, to use the technology on Earth stations in motion. Translation: cars, boats, aircrafts, and RVs will soon have Starlink dishes on their roofs if the government agrees. The filing indicated that the antenna wouldn't be any different than the pancake-style unit being used on rural homes, save for a different type of mounting that would be implemented by certified installers for safety's sake. That's good news, as it means a mobile antenna will likely not cost much, if any, more than the $499 home unit. Starlink is still a decent way from being ready for prime time. There are 1,100 or so Starlink low Earth orbit satellites circling the Earth, and plans are for 42,000 to complete global coverage. At the moment, users need a very broad view of the sky, much wider than a typical satellite TV receiver. That's a problem for virtually anywhere that you camp that even has a few trees, or for setting an antenna on the ground between RVs at a campground. That window will get smaller and smaller as more satellites launch. The early mobile version will probably be best suited for boats and planes. So we're stuck with cellular for the time being. But with FCC approval, Starlink will be one step further toward being a real robust option for internet while traveling in an RV within a year or two. That's it for this video. Make sure to hit the like button if you got something out of it, and hit subscribe and the notification bell if you want to be notified every time we release a new one. Let's wrap this up with some comments from our last video about new RV owner demographic info. Lots of you commenting about waiting until fuel is $4 a gallon or more, and many will leave. I don't buy it. I think people may travel less when fuel prices increase, but with people only using their RVs on an average of 20 days a year, I don't think fuel prices are going to factor into their purchase that much. As a Class C RVer, I feel completely left out of the survey. Do you think they just lumped us in with Class A's? No, when you looked at those graphics that showed the different RVs that people were traveling in that I showed, they were showing the top 3 different RVs that people in those different segments traveled in. So Class C's just never broke the top 3 rank. Thank you for being one of the YouTube channels I look forward to watching. So you seem to mention that fiberglass is in a shortage. For such a basic component, this seems hard to grasp. Please do an extended episode that dives into the material shortages and their effects on production costs. I'll look into that, but part of it is a lot of the fiberglass mats are manufactured overseas, particularly in China, and when manufacturing shut down, there was a shortage, and simultaneously RV, boat, and car manufacturing increased. I want to downsize to a Class C, and I'm considering buying from a rental RV company. What's your opinion? Well, it depends on which rental company you bought it from. It depends on how well it was taken care of, and it depends on where it is in its life cycle. I recommend with any RV that you get an inspection from an NRVI inspector. It's well worth the $600, $700, $800, $900, whatever they charge to do an inspection, even with a new one. I think the survey is highly flawed and has seriously undercounted the number of RVs in the US. I think it's flawed too, but I don't think it's undercounted the number of RVs in the US, because if you put together how many RVs have been manufactured by the RV industry over the last 25 years, it's about how many RVs they say are on the road right now, which makes sense. That's it for this video. Leave a comment and I'll try to get it on the next one. We'll see you next time.